down! Everybody get down now!
My baby! Please don't hurt my baby!
Where is Keisha Washington Johnson?
What is happening? This is my home!
Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We have federal warrant. Stop. Show me that warrant right now. Sir, get on the ground or you'll be arrested for obstruction.
Grandma, they have guns!
I'm an attorney. You cannot enter without showing proper identification. I don't give a damn what you think you are. Move!
Please, I have children. My husband is deployed.
The morning of February 14, 2025, began like a scene from a Norman Rockwell painting, if Norman Rockwell had painted black families preparing for celebration. Dorothy Washington's kitchen hummed with the gentle rhythm of love as she moved through her space with the practiced efficiency of a woman who had spent 40 years building an American dream from nothing but determination and a sewing machine she'd brought from Jamaica. At 75 years old, Dorothy had weathered decades as a seamstress and nursing assistant, her hands now weathered but still skilled as they carefully arranged ingredients for the red velvet cake that had been cooling overnight. The sweet aroma of vanilla and cream cheese frosting filled the air, mixing with the rich coffee scent from her favorite pot and the smooth sounds of Mary J. Blige drifting from an old radio in the corner. Today was special, Valentine's Day, and her 75th birthday rolled into one perfect celebration. The walls of her small duplex told the story of 4 generations through countless photographs. Graduation pictures, military portraits, church gatherings, and moments of black joy captured and preserved against a backdrop of systemic challenges overcome. Javon, baby, pass me the strawberries from the fridge, Dorothy called to her 28-year-old grandson, who sat at the kitchen table organizing legal documents with methodical precision, a habit that followed him everywhere, even on family weekends. Your cousin Aaliyah picked the perfect ones yesterday from the farmer's market. Of course, Grandmama. These look beautiful. Aaliyah always has good taste, Javon replied, his natural authority evident even in casual conversation. Dressed in weekend jeans and a Howard University t-shirt, he appeared exactly as he was in this space, Dorothy's beloved grandson, home for her special day. His federal judicial identification remained tucked away in a briefcase upstairs. Here, surrounded by family, he was simply Javon, the grandson who worked in law and always made time for family. What Dorothy's neighbors couldn't know, what even some of his own family didn't fully understand, was that this same young man who helped with birthday preparations was the Honorable Javon Washington, the youngest black federal judge ever appointed to the United States Circuit Court of Appeals. Miss Dorothy, should I put Zara down for her nap before everyone arrives? Asked Keisha Washington Johnson, Dorothy's daughter-in-law, bouncing her fussy 8-month-old. She was fussy last night, I think she's teething. Let me hold her for a bit, Keisha. I missed this little princess, Javon offered. Baby Zara immediately settled against her cousin's chest, tiny fingers grasping at his shirt. Keisha had every reason to smile that Valentine's morning. The past 8 months had been the hardest of her life, single parenthood while her husband Jamal served in Afghanistan, nights of choosing between groceries and utilities, the constant stress of stretching a military spouse's budget. But yesterday had brought salvation. The military spouse benefits approval letter sat proudly on Dorothy's counter, official government letterhead promising financial stability for a family that had sacrificed everything for their country. Keisha, honey, you deserve every bit of help that letter represents, Dorothy said, pride evident in her voice. Jamal is serving our country, and this country should take care of his family. Lord knows black military families have been giving everything to America for generations. Exactly right, Grandmama, Javon added, organizing the legal documents that seemed to follow him everywhere with methodical precision. Military spouse benefits exist for exactly this reason. Keisha, you've done everything correctly despite all the extra hoops they make our people jump through. The morning continued with the peaceful rhythm of a black family preparing for celebration. 16-year-old Aaliyah, an honor student despite attending an underfunded school, helped her grandmother while texting friends about the party. 12-year-old Deshaun, already showing signs of his father's analytical mind, sat working through chess problems while occasionally asking Javon legal questions that impressed everyone with their sophistication. Cousin Javon, will you help me with my college application essays later? Aaliyah asked. Mom says you're really good with legal stuff, and I want to make sure they can't find any excuse to reject me. And can you explain constitutional law to me again? Deshaun chimed in. I want to understand it for my civics project. My teacher said black people didn't used to have constitutional rights. Of course, cousins, Javon smiled. Constitutional law is fascinating, especially when you understand how our people fought to make those rights real for everyone. It's all about protecting people's rights, especially when they can't protect themselves. This was the rhythm Dorothy had built over decades: family gathering in the kitchen, children learning from their elders, success celebrated and challenges faced together. She had immigrated from Kingston with nothing but dreams and had watched her grandchildren thrive despite systemic barriers designed to hold black families back. You know, Javon, Dorothy said, watching her grandson help Deshaun with a chess move, when I was your age, fresh from Kingston, I never imagined my family would have someone who understood the law so well. You make me proud every day, especially knowing how hard they make it for our boys to succeed. You made all of this possible, Grandmama. Everything I am comes from watching you fight for this family against every system that tried to break us down. But across the street, hidden behind Venetian blinds, Mr. Patterson watched with growing resentment. The same window he'd watched from yesterday when Keisha received that official government letter. The same window from which he'd made his phone call to the ICE hotline, claiming that these people are using fake military documents to steal benefits that should go to real American families. Unknown to the Washington family, Keisha's legitimate military spouse benefits approval had automatically triggered an ICE database flag when her undocumented status appeared alongside government benefits approval. Combined with Patterson's racist anonymous tip, it had created the perfect storm approaching their door. "Dorothy, you having the party in the backyard again?" called Mrs. Williams from next door. "I can help set up chairs if you need. You know how our community comes together." "That would be wonderful, Sister Williams. The more family and friends, the better. We need to celebrate our blessings." Mrs. Williams had become like family over the years. Her own migration story from South Carolina paralleled Dorothy's in many ways, and the two women had supported each other through decades of building lives while facing the particular challenges that black women navigated in America. "Keisha, let me review these benefit documents with you one more time," Javon said, his trained legal eye catching every detail that confirmed the legitimacy of Keisha's benefits. "I want to make sure you understand all your rights and protections, especially since they always try to find ways to take back what black families legitimately earn." "Thank you, Javon. I still can't believe it's real. Jamal will be so relieved when I tell him tonight. You know how worried he's been about us struggling while he's overseas. Everything was legal, legitimate, and protected under federal law. Her marriage to Jamal was properly documented. Jamal's deployment orders were official and current. The military spouse benefit approval had gone through all proper channels. But legitimacy and legality would prove meaningless in the face of prejudice and system failures that disproportionately targeted black families. "Mom, should I make coffee for Cousin Javon?" Aaliyah asked. "He always likes it strong like Grandmama makes it." "Of course, baby. And check if Zara needs her bottle." At exactly 7:20 a.m., 3 minutes before their world would explode into chaos, Javon was sitting at the kitchen table with Deshaun, explaining the Fourth Amendment in terms a 12-year-old could understand. "The Fourth Amendment protects people from unreasonable searches, Deshaun. It means the government can't just come into your house without very good reasons and proper documentation. Our people fought especially hard for these protections because we've always been targets. What if they think they have good reasons but they're wrong? What if they just don't like black people?" Deshaun asked with the painful wisdom of a black child who understood more about injustice than any 12-year-old should. "That's exactly why we have courts and judges, cousin. To make sure the government follows the rules for everyone, not just some people." Neither could have imagined that in less than 3 minutes, those words would become prophetic. The doorbell rang. Then came the pounding. Then the violent shouting that would shatter their peaceful morning forever. "Get down. Everybody get down now." The sound of boots stomping through Dorothy Washington's small duplex cut through the morning air like thunder. What had started as a peaceful Valentine's Day morning, preparing for a 75th birthday celebration, had erupted into chaos in seconds. ICE agents flooded the living room, their voices echoing off walls decorated with family photos spanning 4 generations of black excellence in military service. "My baby. Please don't hurt my baby," Keisha screamed, clutching Zara as the infant's cries mixed with the agent's shouting. "Where is Keisha Washington Johnson?" Agent Torres demanded, weapon drawn, sweeping the room. "What is happening? This is my home," Dorothy cried out, her Jamaican accent thickening with terror. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We have a federal warrant. Agent Martinez announced, though no warrant was visible. Stop. Show me that warrant right now, commanded Javon, immediately positioning himself between the agents and his family. His voice carried an authority that made the agents pause momentarily, but they saw only what their prejudices allowed them to see. Sir, get on the ground or you'll be arrested for obstruction. Agent Torres shouted back. Grandmama. They have guns. Aaliyah sobbed, shepherding Deshawn and baby Zara toward the back bedroom. I'm an attorney. You cannot enter without showing proper identification. Javon declared, his natural judicial authority evident to anyone who understood legal proceedings. I don't give a damn what you think you are. Move. Agent Martinez snarled, seeing only a young black man who appeared to be challenging federal authority, probably uneducated, probably dangerous, probably someone who needed to be put in his place. Please, I have children. My husband is deployed. Keisha pleaded, but her words fell on deaf ears. Save it, lady. We know about the benefit fraud. Agent Torres replied dismissively. The agents had forced their way past the initial chaos, transforming Dorothy's carefully decorated living room into a battlefield. Javon immediately positioned himself between them and Keisha, who clutched baby Zara while the older children huddled behind their grandmother. What the ICE agents saw was a young black man they assumed was just another family member, possibly undocumented himself, possibly dangerous. What they failed to recognize was that they were dismissing a federal circuit court judge who held more legal authority than their entire operation combined. This was the moment when Keisha's world shifted from relief to terror. Just 18 hours earlier, she had been celebrating the approval of benefits that would finally provide financial stability while her husband served overseas. Now those same benefits were being labeled as fraud by armed federal agents who had invaded her home during breakfast. Ma'am, we need to speak with Keisha Washington Johnson immediately. We have a federal warrant for investigation of benefit fraud, Agent Martinez announced with practiced authority. Show me that warrant. Right now. And provide proper identification before you take one more step into this house, Javon demanded, his voice carrying the unmistakable cadence of someone who understood exactly how federal law enforcement was supposed to operate. Sir, step back. We don't need permission from family members, Agent Torres replied dismissively. This is my home. You cannot come in here and terrorize my family like we're criminals, Dorothy declared, her voice carrying 4 decades of dignity even in terror. Ma'am, please control your family members. We're conducting official federal business, Agent Martinez said with the casual racism of someone who expected black families to be naturally unruly. There's no fraud. I'm married to Jamal Washington Johnson. He's deployed in Afghanistan. These benefits are legitimate. Keisha protested, but her words were met with practiced skepticism. Save it, ma'am. We have reliable information that you obtained these benefits through fraudulent documentation. We see this a lot in neighborhoods like this, Agent Torres responded, his racism barely concealed. Neighborhoods like this? Javon challenged. What exactly do you mean by that, Agent Torres? I mean neighborhoods where people try to game the system for benefits they don't deserve. So you're saying black neighborhoods are where people commit fraud? Is that your professional assessment? The racist assumption was immediate and blatant. Agent Torres had revealed his bias within minutes, treating this historically black neighborhood as inherently fraudulent and viewing Keisha's legitimate benefits as suspicious simply because of where she lived and what she looked like. Sir, I'm not going to ask you again. Step aside and let us handle official federal business, Agent Martinez said, his impatience growing. Javon's natural judicial authority was immediately apparent to anyone who understood legal proceedings, but Agent Martinez saw only what his racial prejudices allowed him to see, a young black man who appeared to be challenging federal authority. I'm an attorney, and I'm telling you that you cannot proceed without showing proper documentation and following constitutional procedures. The Fourth Amendment protects this family from unreasonable search and seizure, regardless of what assumptions you've made about black families. The legal knowledge Javon displayed should have given any experienced federal agent pause. His understanding of constitutional law, federal procedures, and civil rights went far beyond what any civilian would typically know. But Agent Martinez was too invested in his racial assumptions to recognize the expertise he was dismissing. Look here, boy, I don't care what you think you learned somewhere. We have our orders and we're following federal protocol. The word boy hit the room like a physical blow. Agent Martinez had used the classic racist diminutive, reducing a 28-year-old federal judge to a boy who needed to be put in his place. The generational trauma of that word echoed through every black person in the room. "Don't you dare call my grandson boy," Dorothy said, her voice carrying decades of dignity in the face of disrespect. "He's more educated than you'll ever be and he deserves your respect. Ma'am, your grandson needs to learn his place and stop interfering with federal operations." "My place?" "Agent Martinez, my place is standing up for my family's constitutional rights. Something you apparently don't understand." The dismissive way Agent Martinez spoke about Javon's place carried centuries of assumptions about where black people belonged in American society. He saw a young black man claiming legal knowledge and assumed it was bluffing, desperation, or dangerous uppityness. The real ICE trigger had been Keisha's military spouse benefits application approval on February 13th. The approval automatically flagged the ICE database because Keisha's undocumented status appeared alongside government benefits approval. The anonymous tip source was Mr. Patterson, the anti-immigrant neighbor who had seen Keisha receive the military benefits approval letter yesterday and called the ICE hotline claiming, "These people are using fake military documents to steal benefits that should go to real American families." "Javon, show them Keisha's marriage certificate. Show them Jamal's deployment papers. Show them everything, baby," Dorothy urged. Javon moved with practiced efficiency, gathering the documents that proved every aspect of Keisha's legitimacy. Her marriage certificate to Jamal, dated 4 years earlier. Jamal's official deployment orders showing his current service in Afghanistan. The military spouse benefits approval that had been processed through proper channels. Birth certificates for all 3 children showing Jamal as their father. Here is documented proof that Keisha Washington Johnson is legally married to Staff Sergeant Jamal Washington Johnson, currently deployed overseas. Here are his official deployment orders. Here is the approved military spouse benefits application that went through proper military channels. Every document is legitimate and verifiable. "Sir, step aside. We're investigating benefit fraud. These documents could all be fraudulent as part of the scheme. We know how sophisticated these operations get in communities like yours," Agent Martinez replied, his assumptions about black neighborhoods evident in every word. "We have a reliable tip that these benefits were obtained through fake military marriage documentation. Happens all the time with you people," Agent Torres added, his racism now completely unconcealed. "You people?" Javon challenged. "Agent Torres, are you referring to black people? Military families? Or are you just comfortable being racist in front of witnesses?" The "you people" comment was the final confirmation of what everyone in the room already understood. This IC operation was motivated by racial prejudice disguised as law enforcement. Agent Torres had revealed that he viewed black families as inherently suspicious and black success as inherently fraudulent. "Please just call the JAG office. Call the military base. They'll confirm everything. Jamal has been deployed for 8 months. We have 3 children together. Everything is documented. Why won't you believe black families can be legitimate?" Keisha pleaded. "Ma'am, that's exactly what someone committing benefit fraud would say. And playing the race card won't change the facts," Agent Torres responded. But the race card was being played by IC agents who had made racial assumptions from the moment they entered Dorothy's home. They had seen a black family and immediately assumed criminality, fraud, and deception. The race card? "Agent Torres, you walked into this house and immediately made assumptions based on our skin color and our neighborhood. You called us you people. You told my grandmother to control her family. You called me boy. And now you're claiming we're playing the race card when we point out your obvious prejudice." Meanwhile, Aaliyah had managed to get Deshaun and baby Zara into the back bedroom, but both older children could hear everything happening in the living room. Aaliyah, despite being only 16, understood enough to know that their mother was being accused of serious crimes that could destroy their family, crimes based on nothing more than their blackness. "Cousin Javon, can you really help Mama? She didn't do anything wrong except be black and get benefits they don't think we deserve," Aaliyah called out desperately. "Yes, cousin. Your mother has done absolutely nothing wrong. These benefits are legitimate, and I'm going to make sure everyone understands that, no matter how much they want to believe black families are criminals." Dorothy watched her grandson with a mixture of pride and terror. She had always known Javon was special, had always known he was brilliant with legal matters, but seeing him stand up to federal agents filled her with both admiration and the particular fear that black mothers and grandmothers carried when their boys challenged white authority. Javon, baby, be careful. Don't let them hurt you for trying to help us. You know how they do our boys. Grandmama, someone has to stand up for what's right. Keisha and the kids don't deserve this, and black families deserve justice too. As Javon spoke, memories flooded back to him of his judicial confirmation hearings, where conservative senators had questioned whether a young black man could be impartial, whether he understood real American values, whether he was qualified despite his Harvard law credentials. He had sworn to uphold justice and protect constitutional rights, never imagining that oath would be tested in his grandmother's living room. The ICE operation was based on a database flag on Keisha's benefits approval plus the anonymous tip from Mr. Patterson claiming document fraud based on racial surveillance. Agent Martinez, I'm going to ask you one more time to follow proper verification procedures. Call the JAG office and confirm Staff Sergeant Washington Johnson's deployment status. Call the Military Benefits Office and confirm the legitimacy of these approvals. You have an obligation to verify information before destroying a black military family based on racist assumptions. Sir, we have reliable intelligence about benefit fraud at this address. We don't need verification advice from family members who think everything is about race. The reliable intelligence was Mr. Patterson's phone call, motivated by nothing more than seeing Keisha receive an official government letter and assuming it must be fraudulent because she was black. But ICE was treating this racist assumption as credible evidence worthy of a federal raid. I can call Jamal right now. He's overseas, but I can reach him on WhatsApp. He'll confirm everything. Maybe hearing a black soldier's voice will convince you we're not all criminals. Keisha pleaded. Ma'am, anyone can pretend to be deployed military on a phone call. And your attitude isn't helping your case. Keisha's attitude consisted of being upset that armed agents had invaded her home and accused her of fraud based on racist assumptions. But black women were always accused of having an attitude when they defended themselves against injustice. Her attitude? Agent Torres, Keisha's attitude is that of a military spouse whose husband is serving America while ICE agents terrorize his family based on racial profiling. If you find that attitude problematic, the problem is with your expectations, not her response. Excuse me, officers, Mrs. Williams called from next door. I live next door. Keisha and Jamal have been married for years. I've seen Jamal in uniform many times before his deployment. I was at their wedding. Ma'am, please step back. Neighbor testimony isn't relevant to a benefit fraud investigation, especially from people in the same community. Agent Torres dismissed her immediately. Mrs. Williams' attempt to provide witness testimony was immediately dismissed with the clear implication that black witnesses were inherently unreliable, while white anonymous tipsters were automatically credible. I have photos of Jamal in uniform, photos of their wedding, photos of all the children with their father, photos of him at church in his dress blues. How much proof do you need to believe a black family can be legitimate? Dorothy demanded. Ma'am, photos can be fake. We investigate benefit fraud all the time, and these communities are full of elaborate schemes to defraud the government. The assumption that these communities, meaning black communities, were full of elaborate schemes, revealed the racist foundation of their entire worldview. Black success was always assumed to be fraudulent until proven otherwise, while white success was assumed to be legitimate until proven otherwise. This is racial profiling disguised as law enforcement. You've presumed criminality based on our race and our neighborhood. You've dismissed our evidence as potentially fraudulent while accepting anonymous racist accusations as fact. This is exactly the kind of discriminatory enforcement that constitutional protections are designed to prevent. Look, I don't know where you learned constitutional law, but federal immigration enforcement has broad authority that doesn't have to worry about your race-baiting complaints, Agent Martinez replied dismissively. Agent Martinez's dismissal of constitutional arguments as race-baiting revealed his assumption that black families who demanded equal treatment were somehow playing victim rather than asserting legitimate rights. Officers, I'm the one who called this in, Mr. Patterson announced proudly as he emerged from his house. I've been watching this family for months. They get government checks, they have nice things, they play their music too loud. These people are living off hard-working Americans while real families struggle. Mr. Patterson's list of complaints revealed the classic racist surveillance that black families faced, being watched, judged, and reported for the crime of existing while black and receiving any form of government assistance. Mr. Patterson, you've admitted to months of racial surveillance of my family. You're upset that black people have nice things and receive legitimate government benefits. You're describing textbook racial harassment. I'm describing fraud. Real Americans know the difference. Real Americans like my grandson-in-law who's serving in Afghanistan? Real Americans like my grandson who went to Harvard Law School? Or are black Americans not real Americans in your mind, Mr. Patterson? Dorothy challenged, forcing Patterson to confront the contradiction in his worldview. The situation spiraled as ICE refused to verify easily confirmable information while treating anonymous racist accusations as credible intelligence. The circular logic was maddening but familiar to every black person in the room. Assume criminality first, demand impossible proof of innocence second. Ma'am, you're under arrest for benefit fraud. You have the right to remain silent. Agent Martinez began. Stop. I said stop. You are making a catastrophic mistake, Javon commanded with new authority. Sir, step back now or you'll be arrested for interfering with a federal investigation. Please, there must be some mistake. Keisha has done nothing wrong. Dorothy cried out. Javon's hand was on his briefcase, knowing that inside lay his federal judicial identification, the one document that could instantly halt this entire operation. But using it would mean revealing a secret that could put his family at risk for years to come. Black federal judges who intervened in immigration cases on behalf of their own families faced particular scrutiny that white judges rarely encountered, with accusations of bias and impropriety that could destroy careers. Javon, don't do anything dangerous for me. I'll go with them. We'll figure it out later, baby, Keisha whispered, trying to protect him. No, Mama. Cousin Javon, please help her. Please. They can't take Mama just for being black. Aaliyah cried from the doorway. Watching his cousin prepare to surrender herself to protect him from arrest, seeing his young cousins terrorized by agents who had presumed their guilt based on skin color alone, Javon made his choice. His hand opened the briefcase. Agent Martinez, before you make the biggest mistake of your career, I need you to look at this identification very carefully. Sir, we don't need to see civilian ID. You've already been warned about obstruction. This isn't civilian ID. This is federal judicial identification. I am Judge Javon Washington of the United States Circuit Court of Appeals. Sir, that's impossible. You're just a... Let me see that. Black people don't. I mean... Agent Martinez stammered, his worldview crashing around him. The moment Agent Martinez looked at Javon's federal judicial identification, the entire atmosphere in Dorothy's living room shifted like air pressure dropping before a storm. The same young black man they had been calling boy and dismissing as uneducated was suddenly revealed to be one of the most powerful legal authorities in the American justice system. Judge Washington, from the circuit court? You're really Judge Javon Washington? I am Judge Javon Washington, and you have just spent the last hour calling me boy, dismissing my constitutional arguments as race baiting, and attempting to arrest my cousin on fraudulent charges based on racist assumptions and unverified anonymous tips. The color drained from Agent Martinez's face as the full implications of the situation became clear. He had used racist language toward a federal judge, dismissed his legal expertise as fake education, and threatened to arrest him for obstruction. Every interaction from the past hour would now be reviewed through the lens of ICE agents who had unknowingly treated a black federal judge like a common criminal. Judge Washington, we had no way of knowing. I mean, you don't look like... I don't look like what, Agent Torres? I don't look like a federal judge? What exactly does a federal judge look like in your mind? The question forced Agent Torres to confront his racist assumptions about what authority looked like. In his worldview, federal judges were white, not young black men standing in grandmothers' kitchens defending their families from government overreach. My grandson is Judge Javon Washington? Baby, you're a real federal judge? Like for real for real? Dorothy asked, her voice filled with wonder and pride. Cousin Javon is a federal judge? Like he can tell these agents what to do? Aaliyah whispered in amazement. Does this mean they have to listen to black people now? Deshawn asked with the hope of a child who had just witnessed something extraordinary. Dorothy watched her grandson with a mixture of pride and terror. She had always known Javon was successful in law, but she hadn't realized he held one of the highest judicial positions in the country. The grandson who still played with his young cousins and helped with red velvet cake preparation was also a federal judge with the authority to overrule everything ICE was doing. I'm still your grandson Javon, Grandmama. But yes, I'm also Judge Washington, and I'm going to make sure this never happens to our family or any other black family again. But Javon's revelation, while stopping the immediate arrest, had also created new problems. Black federal judges who intervened in their families' cases faced particular ethical scrutiny and accusations of bias that white judges rarely encountered. The narrative would inevitably become about a black judge abusing his power rather than about ICE agents engaging in racial profiling. Judge Washington, we were following standard procedures based on intelligence we received. We had no idea about your position, Agent Martinez said, now desperately trying to salvage the situation. My position shouldn't matter, Agent Martinez. Constitutional protections apply to all black families, not just those with federal judges in the living room. And standard procedures don't include racial slurs, dismissing evidence as fake, and refusing to verify easily confirmable information. The exchange was being recorded by Mrs. Williams from her window, and Javon knew that within hours, news of ICE agents using racist language toward a black federal judge would spread throughout legal and media circles. But the story would likely focus on his intervention rather than the systemic racism that had necessitated it. Javon. Judge Washington. I don't understand. You're really a federal judge? But you're so young, and black, and... Keisha stammered, still processing the revelation. I'm still your cousin Javon who loves Grandmama's red velvet cake, Keisha. But yes, I'm also the youngest black federal judge on the circuit court, and I'm going to make sure this never happens to our family again. The family dynamics were shifting as everyone processed the revelation. Dorothy's grandson, who had always been smart about legal matters, was revealed to be one of the most powerful black jurists in American history. The casual legal expertise he had displayed throughout the morning now made perfect sense. Baby, why didn't you tell us? All these years, we thought you were just a successful lawyer, Dorothy asked, tears streaming down her face. Because here, I'm not Judge Washington. Here, I'm Javon, Dorothy's grandson who loves spending Sunday afternoons talking about civil rights history and playing chess with Deshaun. I wanted to keep my family life separate from the racism I face in professional settings. But the separation had proven impossible when his family faced the same systemic racism that he navigated daily in federal courtrooms. Javon had been forced to choose between protecting his judicial neutrality and protecting his cousin from false charges that would have destroyed her children's lives. Judge Washington, we sincerely apologize for any misunderstanding. We were simply following protocols for benefit fraud investigations, Agent Martinez said, his tone completely changed. There was no misunderstanding, Agent Martinez. You used racial slurs against a black family. You refused to verify easily confirmable information about a black military spouse. You treated this black neighborhood as inherently criminal. You dismissed constitutional arguments as race baiting. These aren't protocol failures, they're civil rights violations. Javon's judicial authority now gave federal weight to every legal argument he had made during the confrontation. The constitutional violations he had identified weren't theoretical concerns. They were formal observations from a black federal judge who had witnessed ICE procedures firsthand. Judge Washington, what do you want us to do now? Agent Torres asked nervously. I want you to follow the Constitution you swore to uphold without regard to race. Verify Keisha's military spouse benefits through official channels. Confirm Jamal's deployment status. Document that this entire operation was based on racist false accusations. And ensure that your supervisors understand how close you came to destroying a black military family based on white supremacist assumptions. The immediate crisis had passed, but Javon knew the larger implications were just beginning. His intervention would trigger investigations, news coverage, and scrutiny of ICE procedures, but it would also subject him to the particular criticism that black authority figures faced when they defended their communities.